Hello and welcome back to Coffee Kurosawa, the friendly film crit podcast. I'm Ben Filipkowski, a resident film freak.
And I am Farrah Sarpkaya, a person who loves film, but like in a super chill, she put what in his tea sort of way. And this week we are watching Phantom Thread, written and directed by Paul Thomas Anderson and released in 2017. This film centers around the home life and relationships of London fashion designer Reynolds Woodcock, I will screw that up multiple times, played by Daniel Day-Lewis, and his sister Cyril and his girlfriend Alma, played by Leslie Manville and Vicky Krieps, respectively. So this film opens in a firelit den where Alma, the girlfriend, is telling a story to a young man sitting across from her. We then kind of fade into the film itself, where Reynolds meets Alma at a small restaurant in the country outside of London, while his sister is breaking up with his current girlfriend for him back in their London house and getting her out of the house. It's not love at first sight necessarily, but it's definitely some kind of affection. She becomes his muse after a very intimate and also awkward first date. And what follows in the film itself is about an hour and 45 minutes of mostly household vignettes where Alma attempts to find her place in the routine that Cyril and Reynolds have shared for their whole adult lives. And that routine that Reynolds follows is religious to him. And Cyril has been enabling him to do this to the best of her ability for decades. To the detriment, I would say, even to Reynolds himself. After a lot of missteps, disagreements, arguments, etc., Alma makes a place for herself within their trio and establishes herself as an essential part of their home and brings some much-needed life to a house that, to paraphrase Reynolds' words, seems to have died from lack of change. The film closes not at the end of Alma's story and the doctor's shocked face at her conclusions, but on Alma telling Reynolds her vision for their life together, and they share a moment of intimacy in the waning light. So, Ben, what did you think?
Oh boy, is this a modern-day retelling of the Greek tragedy of Oedipus? Kind of.
What?
Maybe a little bit. Yeah, I think I liked this. I'd heard a lot about this movie, obviously, when it was coming out, but I hadn't seen it until we watched it for the show. I was pretty surprised at how much I enjoy it, if I'm being completely honest. I have seen a few Paul Thomas Anderson movies before this, and I think this one has stuck with me the most because it feels so remarkably reserved in comparison to other stuff like Magnolia or There Will Be Blood. This is beautifully shot. This is a gorgeous period piece. It's set in like 1952, 1950.
Something like that.
Yeah,
just after the war.
Mid-50s, early 60s. It does kind of avoid the usual, that usual sort of cliche of showing an overly perfect view of yesteryear. You get to see a lot of the texture of the spaces that they're in, a lot of like the wear and tear on the spaces that they're in, and the texture of the fabric involved in Reynolds' dressmaking in particular. That's a huge focus, and I don't think it's particularly like precious with showing those things. There's like a workmanlike quality to it, but also that love and care and affection for it, and I really was drawn to that. I feel like I can reach out and touch the fabrics in this movie. It's just so vividly shot. And I think the costume in particular is just stunning and really winds up telling us a lot about these characters, as it should, because this is a movie that is kind of about dressmaking. But really sticks with me is how thorny and difficult the relationship between the characters can be. And I'm very impressed at how Anderson and the cast made a movie that's basically about psychosexual Oedipal hang-ups without actually having all that much sex or scandalous content. This is a really chaste movie that's about a dominant, submissive relationship, and that's kind of weird, but also deeply fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, before we dive into the film itself, it's, I think, important to note that dom and sub relationships in the culture of it are not inherently sexual. We just tend to layer those things over each other because for a lot of folks, that's how it reads in media and all sorts of things. So the fact that as we're talking about dom and sub relationships within the context of this film, we're also going to be talking about, Reynolds' relationship with his sister, which has some kind of flavor of that. But again, there's no sexuality involved in this. It's just like someone in the relationship has the power and the control and whatnot, and the other person doesn't. And that's just the balance of the relationship. And so, I think maybe we kick it off talking about intimacy in this film because that is such a fundamental part of it and how each of the characters kind of speak to and engage in acts of intimacy. Because, as the pop psychology goes, right, we all have our love languages. And Reynolds being our lead, he is very, this is the way the world is. This is the way my life is. This is the structure in which I exist. And for him, going outside of that in any way, shape, or form is an act of love. Even if it is the most mundane, like, I didn't complain that you used olive oil to cook my asparagus instead of butter. That was me being nice. It's like, that's the bare minimum, my friend. Yeah. But, like, that's how he expresses affection versus his sister who protects him from the realities of the world, generally speaking, versus Alma, who is very much a force of change. So what of our main cast struck you in terms of that intimacy? Because you mentioned some Greek references in there, particularly.
I mean, yeah, like Reynolds on the first, air quotes, date with Alma, which is actually, it is a deeply intimate scene because he winds up measuring her and fitting her with dresses that he's worked on, and he's like in love with her from moment one, basically. It's not until Cyril shows up that the energy changes. Like, Alma's so, like, there's a flirtation and a playfulness in the scene, and Cyril shows up, and Alma's face changes, like, immediately, and her posture changes, the energy shifts. It's like, why is this woman? Oh, his
why
sister?
Is his sister here?
I thought we were. Yes. I thought we were getting closer. Okay, what's going on? And yeah, I think, like, I just blanked completely about, like, intimacy. I think, like, ultimately it is about this relationship between Alma and Reynolds. And what really fascinated me about it is how that gets filtered through. I found my train of thought again. How that gets filtered through this energy that's present in the first date, because he's talking about his mother, his deceased mother, and how much he adored her, and she was this beautiful woman, and he made her wedding dress for her. He goes on about this. I think for most people, in 2025, this is probably like a red flag on the first date that someone's going to talk about their mother this much and how perfect and beautiful they were. Alma does not see this as a red flag, or her red flag detector is completely shot. But it imbues all this with, like, this very, like, Oedipal sort of energy. Like, Reynolds has this love and affection for his mother that kind of borders on, like, romanticization. And, it calls to mind the Greek tragedy of Oedipus. And yeah, like, that kind of comes up here. And I think ultimately what the characters are after, what Reynolds is after, he wants to be taken care of. As much as he has this world that he has had constructed for him, and he likes to dictate how that works, and he is, the king in the dress shop, he ultimately wants someone who's going to align with him on his passions and tell him how to live his life, and basically, like, steer him in the right direction, like remove all the obstacles so that he can focus on the passion. And it takes a while, but I think Alma's always that person. But to get aligned with him on that, it takes the course of the movie, you know? Like,
yeah.
their most explicit sexual attraction to each other is the result of her being like, they don't deserve your dresses. They're not good enough for your dresses. Like, she has to, like, when she is arguably more passionate than Reynolds about his work, he's like, that's hot. Let's make out.
Yeah.
Like, it makes a weird sort of sense. There's an energy in here that, like, again, like all pop armchair psychology, but it is like very like, oh, I get you guys are matching each other's energy here in a strange way. It's a strange energy, but that's why it works. And did we even mention what Alma does in your recap? Like, do we even mention how she makes him her sweet little baby man husband that she has to look after?
What in his tea?
Yeah.
Poison mushrooms is the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think and I'll touch on this a little bit later too, there's something to be said about, we're all weirdos at the end of the day. We just got to find the perfect weirdo for us, you know? Mm-hmm. And I mean that in the best affectionate way. But also, the idea that he almost gets close to this romanticization of his mom, I understand what you mean, but also it reads a little bit differently to me insofar as it's like, I mean, he's a kid. He just is a child and needs his mother to structure all of the things for him.
Yeah.
And mother, in this case, being Cyril and or Alma, in the ways that they mother him.
Yeah.
But there's no, he is the genius in the way that so many other films step him up as the genius. But the intimacy for him comes from, I need someone to take this chaos that is my brain of focusing on this one thing and direct it so that I can exist in this world that is too much noise. I just want this one thing. And there's something very interesting about that, and about how he exists as a submissive in the dom sub like kind of balance, where in the community often I am not an expert in this, but just from what I have read, it is very much said to be that the sub is the one technically with the most power, because the scene is focused on them. And that's what Reynolds wants.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He wants to be cared for. He wants to be coddled. He wants to have the scene focused on him, but he doesn't want to have to do the management of that.
Yeah.
And that's where the women in his life, Cyril and Alma, come in to do all of that for him. And then when we get to the point where Alma's like, you are an overtired toddler, good sir. You need to slow down. And she poisons him with some mushrooms to get him to be really, really sick. And then she gets to make him well and make him strong again, but also to rely on her 100%. Like, that's full kink at that point, it feels like, right? Again, not in a sexual way necessarily, but in a, this is the thing that makes my brain go burr kind of way.
Yeah, it's like when because Reynolds knows that he's been poisoned by the
second time.
He's fully aware. He goes into it knowing that's going to be the outcome, and eats the omelet that has been prepared for him that he knows will make him sick. And when he's doing that, it's kind of like I didn't know you were cool like that. I didn't know you were that committed to this. Damn, that's awesome.
I didn't know you were down for these. So,
it is. It's weird. Again, it's weird to say in so many ways, but it is all these like. It's like the least sexual, psychosexual story. like it is all about hang-ups and we are as people, or who these people are as people, and what they want out of their lives. And I think Alma's like a controlling yet subservient person. She wants that authority within the household. She wants to be like the main girl in the dress shop. She wants to be Reynolds' wife. But how she manifests that, how that appears, like she wants to run the house day to day so that he can do these things. Man, it's so like,
I mean,
she wants the best for her partner in a strange way. Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
I don't even know if it's strange, because you get this moment kind of midway through the film. Cyril, we've seen her style of intimacy for her brother is she looks after him. She crafts the world for him in a way that he wants. Mm-hmm. Breakfast is just so. He gets rid of the ex-girlfriend. She manages the uncomfortable social activities that he doesn't want to go to. Like, she doesn't tell him things like his favorite client leaving, because she's like, you don't need to know about that. I don't want to upset you.
Yeah.
And then Alma's version, like we've talked about already, is very much, no, we're gonna break you of some of these things, because I need you to be more of what I need, because there's a balance there in any relationship. And then as Cyril and Alma and their relationship evolves, and Cyril starts to let go a little bit of the reins there, and that power dynamic shifts, there's a moment where Cyril says, listen, Reynolds, I need you to either break up with this girl or step up, because I like her. Even though the entire film, there's never been any clear buddy-buddy relationship between them or anything. And even their style of intimacy, these two women who are united by this one guy, in their different ways, of course, is fascinating in this is our focus, this one human. We both want what's best for him. How do we navigate that between ourselves, even, is really interesting.
Yeah. I feel like everything I read about this plays up that there is this rivalry between Cyril and Alma, but it doesn't really play out on screen to me. I think it's hinted at a little bit, but it's more just the passing of the reins of okay, who's steering? I think that's where the tension comes from. Who is steering the ship here? Who's I'm mixing metaphors there, but it's not even that there's not a huge blow up between Cyril and Alma, but there is we get the conflict between Reynolds and Alma, and Reynolds trying to have Cyril fix everything, and she kind of does not go along with it. I also think it's also interesting seeing the difference in energy in how they manage Reynolds' life. Alma is very much an enabler of certain things while also dissuading. She corrects certain behaviors, enables other behaviors. Cyril just kind of runs the life and doesn't put up with his crap. She's very dismissive. Every time he has attitude towards Cyril, she's nope, not doing that. Just cuts him down almost immediately. So that was interesting and fascinating to see. Yeah. Oh God! If anyone is here and hasn't seen this movie, it's so tough to really fully encapsulate what the energy of this movie is, because it's a little out there. It's engaging. It is. I don't know if enjoyable to watch is the right word, because it is ultimately interpersonal conflict and drama, but it's performed really well. There was I was reading that Paul Thomas Anderson was inspired to write this. He got really sick, and his wife Maya Rudolph was looking after him, and he happened to catch this look of like pure devotion on her face.
Oh.
And he was like, wow, I'm going to write a movie about poisoning the person you love to make them for weird codependency, which is like a weird response to have. But.
Yeah. But also, you know, there's something to be said about the power a person has over you when you are vulnerable. Like I've mentioned on the podcast, I have back issues. I've had surgery for it, that sort of thing. And my husband has had to do a lot for me that I wouldn't have expected him to have to do until we were in our 80s, sort of thing. And I'm just like, the amount of love and devotion I see on his face in that, like, getting me tea, helping me, you know, take a shower, doing all these things. It takes a lot of love to do all of this stuff for a person. And Alma just steps right into that role. I want to go back to something you said before about the rivalry between Cyril and Alma, because I think it's a trope that's played up a lot in media, that women are catty. Or women, when they're fighting over a man, whether it's like a mother-in-law and her daughter-in-law or whatever that looks like, there's often a, you know, women whispering and trying to dissuade the other person, like, run away, you're not strong enough to do this, or like just being mean. And at no point, like, there are moments where Cyril is like, are you sure you're up for this? Because this is just who he is. Like, you're trying to change him, but you're not going to change him to be something other than he is. But it's not from a cruel perspective necessarily. It is more of a, like she says, I liked her. I like this woman. She likes her. She doesn't want her to suffer at the hands of her brother, whom she knows is very particular. And so that, it's, I wouldn't call it a rivalry so much as a, like, to your point, like handing the reins off. Are you prepared to deal with this mess of a man for however long? Because Cyril knows once Alma is installed as his guiding light, if anything happens to Alma for her to just leave, he would fall apart.
Yeah.
In the same way that if there's a moment where Alma sends Cyril and the rest of the staff away because she wants to surprise Reynolds, and Reynolds gets home, he's like, where's Cyril? Like, she's literally gone for an evening without notice, and he just doesn't quite know what to do with himself because the routine has been broken. And that's a very interesting kind of intimacy between these two women who love this one man in their ways. And a very clear form of, I think, respect. And perhaps not affection, but like, there is certainly love lost between the two of them, particularly by the end when Alma has kind of stepped into her role as Reynolds' new, you know, Dom, if you will, but his new partner and his new life manager, perhaps.
Yeah, there's certainly some tension, but I don't think it's never played up to be this, like, as you were saying, this very, like, catty.
Yeah,
it's never coded that way. I think it is. There's an understanding, even if there is that tension. And
it's love and concern, not possession, maybe.
Yeah. I think Alma is possessive of Reynolds. Cyril is protective, and those are different energies, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, Cyril's thing is very, like, sibling. It's like they're close siblings. That is the energy. Yeah. There's so much in here. It's absolutely fascinating. Yeah. I think Leslie Manville might be the standout of this movie for me. Her performance is, like, really reserved, but expressive. Actually, and I'm jumping back here. The cattiest that any women get with each other in this movie is Alma basically stealing the dress back from Harriet Sansom Harris's character. Shout-outs to Harriet Sansom Harris, television's Frasier's B.B. Glazer. Got to call out my Frasier references whenever I see them. She is an incredible actress and has been in so many wonderful things. She was heartbreaking in this brief role that she has in this movie. Yeah. Man. That was I had to skip parts of that sequence. I was like, this is rough. Like, this is tough to watch. Like, this person is crashing out so hard. I need to just...
It's a rough section. So, like, for context, there's a Countess, Duchess, something like that, whom Reynolds dresses, but she is very clearly from the hop quite drunk, and he does not enjoy dealing with her. And then she insists that he attend her wedding, and he's like, no, that's not my place. I don't want to go. But Cyril insists that he has to because this woman paid for their house, basically, with all the dresses that she bought and all that.
Yeah.
And he attends the wedding, and she is a messy drunk to the point where she passes out at the wedding at the head table. And Alma and he steal the dress off of her. Alma goes in the room and undresses her where she lays, passed out in bed. And it is, a very rough, like, micro story of this woman whose life is, we don't know much at all about her, except that she's having a rough time.
Yeah. Because she's some sort of heiress.
Yeah.
You see the, like, because it's not her wedding. No, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Is it? It's her wedding.
It's her wedding.
Yeah.
It's like her second or third wedding, which is why it's a green dress.
Yeah.
She has a grown son, so she can't wear white.
Yeah, and she's got this clearly a slightly younger husband. Yes. And I guess the implication is like that there's like a gold digger thing going on, even though he's like, well, I'm independently wealthy. I don't need her money.
Right.
It's rough. She's having a rough go of it. And Harriet Sansom Harris plays it to perfection.
Oh my God.
As difficult as it is to watch. Yeah.
But
and then the outcome, they steal the dress back, and then Reynolds and Alma have a hot and heavy makeout session because he's like, wow, you're so passionate about my work. You get it. You understand me. Yeah.
But she also just protected him, and you get again that he is strong, but he's, well, maybe, Yeah. Like, he needs these strong women in his life to kind of prop up some of the fragile genius that he so deeply has. And I think the way that they frame him as this creative powerhouse is so unique in a lot of ways to how we see the tortured genius in other things.
Yeah.
Of like the rock and roll star who's like tortured and depressed and all these things. And Reynolds is just like, I have my breakfast at exactly this time. I wear exactly these clothing. My Brussels sprouts are always cooked exactly this way. You don't have enough butter in my eggs. Like, you go down the list and like, he's a very particular type of neurotic.
Yeah.
He is a rock star of fashion, but this is the way they show the neuroses.
Yeah.
And it's just, so his need for protection and guidance and to prop up his creativity is shown time and time again. And I think this moment when Alma does that for him is like a turning point for him and for her of, oh, this is what this dynamic is. Yeah. I need someone who's gonna be my tiger mom.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they both realize that they're matching each other's freak. And oh, okay. Yeah. It's that kind of movie.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. But like, to your point, it's a very chaste sort of film because we get a closed door. Like he drags her into, they have separate bedrooms, but he drags her into his bedroom and the door shuts. fade to black. We don't see any of that. But later on, when he's like puking his guts out because, you know, she poisoned him with mushrooms because he was being a little brat.
Yeah.
And I use that word very intentionally. We have just like 15 minutes of her petting his head and, you know, putting cold compress and helping him to the bathroom when he has to throw up and these things. And it's chaste, but it is so intimate.
Yeah.
And so loving and so passionate in a way that you don't often see in media. I don't think that vulnerability, you know.
Well, it's showcasing like the passion, the other side of love when it's not just infatuation and lust. It is showing that like a different side of intimacy and connection that you, again, it's like you're saying, you don't always see. It's that makes this worth watching. I think like that there is that depiction of commitment that is not super visible in a lot of, certainly not a lot of romance movies. And I would argue that this is a romance at the end of the day. It's a weird one, but it's still a romance.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I would agree with the fact that like we so often see the passionate, sexy, adventurous parts of love and infatuation and intimacy of like sex and like whatever. But we so rarely see, except for maybe during like pregnancy storylines or like getting old storylines where one person just has to step up and take care of the other one. Yeah. And you don't see that a lot because that's the messy part of being in love and being with someone for a long time. Sometimes you just got to help them to the bathroom because they're going to puke. Yeah. Like, that's just life.
And he's, that lad, there's like one towards the end, that final shot of him when she's like taking care of him and he's like sitting in the bathroom. He's not having a good time. There are newspapers all over the floors too. Like, it's boy, those are some rough mushrooms to eat. Feel gross.
Yes. But also like life is gross.
Oh yeah.
Being human is gross, and we don't see enough of that in movies and TV unless it's played for gags, and even then it's like no gags, no ton. Anyway.
Yeah, life is
chaos.
Life is gross and contains multitudes. And of those multitudes, you know, we're talking a lot about the tortured genius as a trope here. You brought up before hitting record that it's possible to read Reynolds as a neurodivergent character because of some of the characteristics he displays. And I'm curious to talk a little bit more about that. And with the caveat being that, like, is he neurodivergent or is he just a jerk? Not that all neurodivergent people are jerks, but
I think there's I would say, is he neurodivergent or is he coddled?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, like, if you get used to something because he's in his 50s, I think, the character. If you get used to something for 50 years and then suddenly something changes, you're going to get annoyed. I don't, like, that's just how it is. But, like, watching it, I should caveat, and it's nobody's business because I am a grown adult, but I should caveat this that I've never been formally diagnosed, but I've had enough professionals be like, maybe you should take a test, suggest that I'm somewhere on some kind of spectrum. And there were a lot of things as I was watching it that I recognized in myself of, like, if my routine is thrown off, it makes my day awful. If my favorite fork hasn't been washed and I want to eat this certain thing, it just feels my day has been grated a little bit, that sort of thing. The social aspects of I have to be able to know where I'm going when I'm doing the thing. I can't be last minute because that's overwhelming. Like, there are so many little flags of, like, he could be on a spectrum somewhere. neurodiversity is indeed a spectrum. You don't have to be autistic or whatever to be on that spectrum either. And the fact that he has been coddled his entire life by his mother and by Cyril, and by, indeed, an industry that has elevated him to be this kind of god of fashion in its way. Even if he weren't on a spectrum formally, because this is the 50s, right? Like, he wouldn't have been. Even if he'd had tendencies towards that as a character, having someone whose whole life's purpose is making him feel as comfortable as possible, removing all possible friction. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, you're going to get used to some stuff, right? Yeah. And when someone does come in to try to break that, you're going to be grated by it, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. On the one hand, I think it's really interesting when media portrays neurodivergence, but at the same time, intentionally or not, but at the same time, I think within the context of the film, it doesn't terribly matter if it's a biological or a habit-formed conclusion that he is.
Yeah. Because
we as the readers of the story, we see what we want in it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think, like... Well, I think even what I was saying about, like, oh, is he neurodivergent or is he just a jerk, is like, well, maybe I shouldn't say it that way. That's probably not the best phrasing, because it's like, he's a jerk. I mean,
yeah,
this is clear.
Both can be true.
He's a jerk. But is he particular because, as you're saying, because it is a quirk of his, you know, genetic makeup, his biology, or because of how he was raised? And that's the big, that's the question. And it doesn't really matter because the end result is the same. Mm-hmm. So,
and I think the two women, the way they interact with his quirks tells us a lot about how we shape the people around us. Because if you spend a lot of time with people who won't rock the boat, who won't make you get out of your comfort zone, whatever, those are the pathways in your brain that will be reinforced. That's how you build habits, right? Versus if you're an introvert and you hang out a lot with extroverts who force you to get out of the house and go do stuff, yeah, you still might want guardrails around that. Like, I'm not going to go to a party if somebody invites me 2 hours from now for 5 o'clock. But if someone tells me 2 weeks in advance, hey, we're going to a party, I'm going to go, and then I'm going to schedule some quiet time afterwards, right? And those are the habits that you start to build. And Cyril has put her maybe neurodiverse, maybe not, little brother in this bubble. And then Alma comes in with this sledgehammer and says, no. We're going to get you a little bit out of that bubble, or at least we're going to move the bubble around so you can experience other things.
Yeah. Yeah. The very, like, forced and sudden, like, nope. You're going to experience things. You're going to... We're not doing it that way. I think everyone has had a relationship in their lives where you encounter someone and they basically say, like, that's not going to fly. We're doing it this way. And you either have to, shape up or ship out. I know in my wonderful wife, we have both been that person for each other several times. So very relatable.
Yep.
And then, of course, movies have to take it, you got to exaggerate it. It's drama. It's high drama.
Yeah.
There's
something to be said about intimacy and love there. And this is getting a little bit meta, but, like, so often you hear from married people, married for 12 years, that part of what a long-term relationship is just choosing to stay, through the hard stuff. And if you don't want to choose to stay through the hard stuff, or that is a hard stuff that you aren't comfortable with staying through, good, don't stay. But, like, Brandon and I, too, like, we've been married for 12 years. We've had days or weeks where we're just, like, not vibing, right? Something's off, something's weird, but you choose to stay and work through it. And the fact that Reynolds goes in and complains to his sister, she's ruining everything. She's breaking all these things. She's too loud at breakfast, all this stuff. And yet, he doesn't kick her out because he wants her to stay. He wants the disruption. It's just uncomfortable for him and these things. That's his kind of love. And that's, in and of itself, a very, beautiful, intimate kind of thing where you're looking at this person whose life has been structured and coddled and wrapped in cotton wool for him. But for this woman, for Alma, he is willing to slowly make changes. And I feel like that tells us just as much about how much he loves her as how Alma changes her life to suit him. It's just a lot more subtle in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Sitting and thinking and living with that. That's good observation. Yeah, I think I like this movie.
Yeah. It grows on you, I think, this film.
Yeah.
And the more you sort of sit with it as a very small snapshot in a very long life, presumably. We don't know how long he lasts after Alma starts poisoning him, but, that's a choice that they make together. The commentary around love and vulnerability, particularly, is very profound. And I don't use that word a lot, I don't think, when I'm talking about movies, but based on what you said around how it was inspired, I think we really get a good glimpse into where vulnerability and love interact and intersect, that we don't often get in media. And I love that. Yeah,
I think it's really nailing that kind of odd crossroads of ideas and topics and themes in a way that, we don't see this often, if at all. And this was when this came out as well. I'm shifting gears here. When this came out as well, this wound up being, Daniel Day-Lewis's last movie before he retired for the second time. So he's now coming out of retirement again. I think based on, his career, it's kind of like he goes through these phases of like, I think I'm done. I'm back. So he's done that. This is the second time he's done that now. What a movie to go out on if this had been his full retirement. I'm glad, like, he's a very talented actor. Glad we will see more of him. But yeah, like, I think for me, I think I was saying this earlier, he's not the standout in this. I think for me, Leslie Manville as Cyril is like doing some really interesting stuff in regards to her acting choices, and certainly Vicky Krieps as well as Alma. I mean, deserves so much accolade. Interestingly, she did not want to be nominated for any like big awards because she felt that it would draw way too much attention to her. She was happier with a quieter life, which is kind of interesting.
Which Listen, I don't want to get too meta here, but that is a fascinating thing to hold up against Alma, the character who becomes, who goes from the muse to the actual, head of the house eventually. Cyril interests me as a character, though, because the first time we see her, she is breaking up with, or she is telling her brother, listen, do you want me to break up with this woman? But she says it like, should I get her out of the house? I'll give her the October dress or whatever. And then the next time we see her, she comes upstairs, interrupts the first date of Alma and Reynolds, and then just sits down and takes notes as Reynolds measures Alma.
Yeah.
And she is so cool, calm, collected, as if this has happened a million times, and it probably has. But the way she portrays the sizing up of Alma, both literally and figuratively throughout the film, that very intelligent, very calculating, but not in a bad way, kind of way, is really... There's something, I don't know, warm about it. Like a good latte. It feels like a good latte, and I don't know what that means, but that's what it feels like. And I don't know what to do with that.
Well, she's a chaperone in a strange way. And I think that's the weird energy shift for Alma in that scene. But I don't think, Cyril doesn't see any... Cyril's here just as, helping her brother. And Cyril's also, encouraging to Alma in that scene. Approving and encouraging. Alma's the one who's weirded out, because it is admittedly, hang on, wait, what?
I'm half naked standing here in my shift, and there's a new lady here whom I wasn't actually introduced to. What's happening?
Yeah. And there are those little moments where it sounds as if Reynolds and Cyril are negging Alma with some comments about her body, but they mean it as a compliment. And it's just right, but if you're not orientated to how they deliver compliments, this just sounds rude.
Yeah.
Reynolds is you have no breasts, and it's wait, what?
Yeah, and Cyril, I think, says, you have a little tummy.
Yeah.
Reynolds, you have the perfect body. Reynolds loves a little tummy or something like that. And she's so taken aback.
It's hang on, what? And then there's that bit where it's the is it the Dutch? I think she's the Belgian, not Belgian. There's the...
Is it the princess that got married?
Princess, the princess that they're doing the wedding dress for. The Belgian princess that they're doing the wedding dress for. And there's all the measurements going on in the fashion house. And Alma goes up and basically sizes herself up next to the princess in a moment of I suppose, insecurity. But I don't think that there's ever a moment where Reynolds does show more interest in someone else. But with regards to the princess, he's this effusive person because she's a really wealthy client, and that was kind of my read on it. He's very gold, or he's doing the question thing with her. It's gold or silver, and she's gold, and he's very good. There's a right answer and a wrong answer, and he's going to judge you if you give the wrong answer. And I think Alma kind of construes that as a flirtation, when it's not, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, because he kind of did a similar thing to her when in the beginning he's trying to find the right fabric for her dress and stuff. But it's interesting too, because he says something to the effect of I made her christening dress, I made her first communion dress, I made her graduation dress or her coming out dress or whatever. Yeah. Why wouldn't I make her wedding dress? And so you get the sense that it's not just that she's rich. Because I think Cyril is concerned with that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I don't think Reynolds really cares that she's rich. But and this is another one of those, like, very small, like, could it be neurodivergence? Maybe. Of, well, no, I made this dress and this dress and this dress. Why wouldn't I make this other dress?
Yeah.
Like, that confusion of patterns. Like, we have this pattern.
Yeah.
I'm going to make her kids probably dresses and, like, etc. But yeah, the fact that it mimics how he was originally flirting with her in the creation of her dress at the beginning, I think very much there's a moment for her of jealousy, where for him, he's just like, what do you mean? Like, why would you be jealous of her? I've known her since she was, like, a baby, and I'm just making her dress. Like, that's not... But because of how he reads, and because of how little is not the right word, but how even-keeled generally he is with his affection, she doesn't see the nuance right away, because she's still getting used to it, like he pointed out, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, she has to assert herself in the household of, like, why aren't I in the receiving line with you and Cyril? Why am I with the other seamstresses? And, like, really trying to find her place in that, family unit, I guess.
And then their blow up, Reynolds and Alma, when they finally have it out that first time.
Yeah.
And he gets some absolutely ridiculous lines like, are you an agent sent to ruin my day and possibly my life? Yeah, bits like that. And she's just trying to express, like, what's my place? And he's like, who cares? You're with me.
Yeah.
That's the thing that matters. And it's like, no, there's other things that matter. So, yeah, it's, So this is all about, like, power dynamics and relationship dynamics. And it's really fascinating and interesting.
There's one more scene that I want to talk about as we're wrapping up that I found really interesting, and I'm not sure what I want to say about it, but it intrigues me. At one point, they have to go to some event. I think it's a Christmas party they go to where she meets a duchess or something, and he and Alma are playing backgammon. And before that, the duchess or whatever has been talking in Reynolds' ear about how, like, oh, poor you, your wife is so whatever, dowdy. She looks like she's having a great time with my son, though. And she's, like, stirring the pot. Yeah. A little bit. And then later on, Alma walks away from the backgammon game because he's being a jerk about it, of how she doesn't know how to play because she's probably never played before, whatever. And then the duchess comes back and is like, well, I don't know, people like her must be, maybe she's off stealing the silverware or whatever. And she's, like, actively trying to stir the pot, and he doesn't realize it. Yeah. Which leads to their New Year's Eve fight, where Alma wants to go dancing right now, and he doesn't, because, as I've mentioned, if someone tells me, we're going to go dancing in 20 minutes and no one gave me any notice, I'm going to be like, absolutely not. My energy is not there, my guy. But then he goes after her because he realizes he's been a jerk. Yeah. But there's, like, a 5-minute little interlude where he's, like, peeking his head around the kitchen door to see if she's actually leaving, where he's, like, sitting there thinking about it. He's standing at the door staring at it like she's going to walk back through it. Oh. And it's such an interesting view into one man's struggle with himself and what it means to change for another person. I don't know. There's something about that sequence that just really clicks for me. Yeah. When he finally finds her on the dance floor and they kiss and then head home. Because he's like, that's as much as I can do today. Yeah. He's like, I don't like crowds. Yeah. Fair. I don't like crowds either. Yeah. Yeah, it's a great sequence. I do love they're playing backgammon and she's, like, shaking the dice.
And he's like, I think they're pretty thoroughly shaken by now. I don't think they're going to get more shaken. Which is like,
just hates
yeah,
noise.
Good point. You could probably just roll the dice and it'll be okay.
Mm-hmm. But maybe she's having fun, Reynolds. Let the girl shake the thing.
Yeah.
It's like when he complains that she's buttering her toast too loudly. It's like, just let the girl live, my guy.
Yeah.
She lives with your eccentricities. You've got to do it for her.
Yeah. Simultaneously, though, I think like anyone who's been in a relationship will have that like moment of like, they are doing this to spite me. Like you just have like a completely unreasonable moment where you're like, they're breathing too loud. Like you've had like a bad sleep
Chewing
or something.
those carrots.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think we've all been there. So
I get very loud on the phone to my parents who listen to this podcast. So hi, Mom and Dad. But I get very loud because the Italian comes out in me. And sometimes Brandon will look at me and just put a hand down a little bit. Just be like, you're getting really loud, dear. Calm it down. Just like a scooch. And I'm like,
just do the Ross
okay.
from Friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Speaking of loud, the soundtrack for this is also gorgeous, and I just want to quickly call out that it is composed by Johnny Greenwood, who people might know as the lead guitarist for Radiohead, and has been
wild.
Anderson's musical collaborator for
amazing,
like 5 movies now, I think. So. Mm-hmm. Good soundtrack.
Also, the costume design is it's a movie about fashion, so of course, but also, oh my god, it is a feast for the eyes, this film. It's beautiful. Just in every shot. Just even if it's not beautiful couture, the attention to detail and color is just so good.
I don't know fashion, but I do know that Daniel Day-Lewis is a method actor and learned how to make dressmaking. He spent a year learning how to learning dressmaking in preparation for the role, and became good enough that he was able to recreate an iconic Balenciaga dress, according to sources online.
Incredible. It's hard. I make clothing, and it is a hard skill to learn if you are not doing it with regularity, because there's just so much to piece together. Sorry. Okay, so
really pulling on the threads for that one.
Hey. So, if you want, oh god, if you want to learn about film, Ben, as we wrap up, why would you watch Phantom Thread?
I think you would watch Phantom Thread because it is I don't think that a lot of the stuff that we're talking about thematically is super hidden, but a lot of it is kind of subtextual. It is not necessarily the primary like message that the characters are talking about on screen. So we're reading a lot into it, and I think it's a great way to like look at things like subtext and doing a closer reading of something to kind of like pull out some more ideas from it. If you've listened to this full episode, it's clear that there's a lot here to dig into. So this is a great thing to watch because, it's a wonderfully told story, and there's richness in the text for us to like really sink our teeth into if we want to go full like, yes, I'm a film critic and film analysis expert. So it's really fun from that perspective. But Farrah, if you just want to watch something on Friday night, why this intense interpersonal period piece drama?
So we've already mentioned that it's beautiful. It is a feast for the eyes. We've already mentioned that the soundtrack is great. The settings are cool. It's like a beautiful example of a period piece, but it's also just intimate and weird and sometimes funny and quirky, and there's something very like, it's very charming, it's very human, and it's a really nice reminder that love and intimacy and life never look the same, but that's, the joy of what makes us human, and the joy of what makes life worth living is that we're all a little weird, and the people who love us because of and in spite of that. And I think that's just a really lovely message to to watch for a Friday night.
Yeah. And it's so chic as well.
Oh my God, so chic. I can't say the word because we're trying to keep it PG, but effing chic.
What does that even mean? I don't know what that word is. What's that mean?
You can find us at Patreon at Coffee and Kurosawa, where we are not chic, but we are who we are as people. You can find us also on Blue Sky as Coffee Kurosawa Pod. You can find me on Blue Sky and Letterboxd as Sarpkaya, as Farrah. God, I can words. And you can... great plug. You can find me at sarpkaya.ca, where I lend my voice as a voice actor and say words better than I just said words just then. Ben, where can the people find you?
I'm on Blue Skies at the Benjimon, and on Letterboxd is at Benjimon. Yeah. And I think that brings us to the close of our discussion of Phantom Thread. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
A seamless transition.
I love it.
And we'll see you next time. I had to get one more zinger in at the end. I don't,